Oh, do I have a treat for you today. As another gem of a request from Almighty Los, this one had me stuck in my thinking cap for hours. What was suggested is pretty self-explanatory from the comment. Getting one single AI spawner to spawn its troops and then split those troops into separate squads that can act independently of one another and travel to different move zones and etc. This one pushed me to my limit, and I didn't want to give a half-baked scripted tutorial, so when I did get it working, to a degree, I wasn't satisfied with the length of the script or anything and how junky it looked, so I cleaned up all of the junk and found an efficient way of scripting it while working with it, which took even more time. It was a frustratingly fun experience though. There was nothing for this on the interwebs, anywhere that I could find, so I had to really grind my brain to get this one going, and so I have.
Were it so easy?
And it wasn't easy. It was not easy, but that's why I'm here, because I'm going to make it easy for you guys. Let's get right into it. Okay, from map setup, all we need to do is set up our spawners. And we don't have to do much setup, but there are some things we need to cover. And I'm gonna go ahead and change the team to my team, so that way we can watch them and observe what they're doing without them trying to, you know, murder us. Then we go down here, we're gonna make sure we check these. I'm gonna do 4 units, so that way I can show you exactly what's going on. The first unit's gonna be a grunt, the second one will be a brute, the third one we're gonna make that an elite, and then the fourth one we're gonna make a jackal. That way they're all 4 entirely different things, so we can see exactly what's going on with them. And see, spawn logic, you're gonna want to make sure that it's triggered by script, and the squad label is important. We don't have to change it from alpha right now because it's alpha. That's what we're gonna be using. But if you're not, you're gonna want to change this to whatever. You'll see it in the script. So for now, it's gonna stay alpha, and that's pretty much it for that. You don't want to select a move zone this time. You actually want to keep your move zone unlinked to this spawner. And we're gonna name this split, just because. Okay. Now the great thing about prefabs that I found out is I'm just gonna go ahead and place this prefab here, which is a prefab of my endless spawning of all your spawners on the map, just like that. So now it will all infinitely spawn if they die. So that's a good setup. So if you want this prefab, it's in the description, and there's a tutorial on how to get it set up and actually put it to use if you need that. Now we need our move zones. Our move zones are very simple, and we're gonna make 2 of them just to really show what we're doing. Place one here. I'm gonna name this one left, just because it's over here to the left, and just for simplicity. And then I'm gonna put one in the temple. And of course I'm going to name that temple, just for simplicity's sake, as usual. That's all we have to do with these 2. You don't want to assign it. Now here is something new that you probably wouldn't know to do, and this is to set up your dummy spawner. And this, all it does is you're going to want to change the barrier, or the boundary, to a lot smaller, the size of a grunt. All this does is creates the squad we can assign the split to. So make it just big enough for grunt can spawn. The team doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead and put it on the team anyway. There we go. Unit 1 selection, and just make sure it's a grunt. It's just for the easiest method. Triggered by script on. And this time, the squad label is going to be Bravo. That is something important. You want to make sure this one is in fact Bravo. And don't link an AI move zone. That will all come later. I'm gonna name this dummy. Now we're gonna move this somewhere. You're gonna want to put this spawner somewhere on your map that you won't ever see. So way off in the distance, obscured, under the map, anywhere you want. You're gonna want to put it somewhere though where it can't be seen. And then we just build a box for it. We build ourselves a little box that it can set on. So that way it can actually perform the spawn. I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up and get this little box set up for you. Okay, so you're gonna want something like this, just a tiny little area that one grunt can spawn and set in here, but he won't stay in there for long. We're actually gonna get rid of him shortly after. We just need his spawner to create the squad, because for some reason in this game, right now, as when this video was uploaded, you can't just create a squad to send units to if there aren't currently AI spawned to it from a spawner of some sort, which is weird, and I looked for hours, couldn't find it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a kill zone. So we go up here to gameplay, we go down to volumes, and we get a kill volume. And make sure it's the right size, it just kind of fills the box. I snap to floor so that way it snaps to the very bottom, and that should be all we got to do, because we can just leave it named kill volume. We actually need to set up a nav mesh on that one tiny point down there, and that's no problem. It's nothing that will affect your map in any way. We go to nav mesh from gameplay, we grab a nav seed point, and we place it in the box with, there we go, turn magnets on. And make sure you snap it to the floor of your box right here. And then you go into your build menu by holding Y, holding to the right, pressing nav mesh, and select build selected. This is so that way the AI spawner can technically interact with a nav mesh to spawn, because if it doesn't, then it won't spawn the AI at all, and it'll break everything. So as it stands, that's all we need for our map setup. So now we're going to get into the fun part. What you want to do is go ahead and create a new script brain to make things just easier and more organized, so we don't have other junk nodes in the way from other scripts. And now that it's selected, we can go ahead and enter it. To start, we're going to have to deal with the kill zone. So we go up here to events, and just when you start the game, we're going to get rid of the kill zone. The reason why we do that is because we don't want the grunt dying immediately. We don't need him to be despawned by the time everything happens. And of course, we can just go down here. Huh? Oh. We can go down here and grab our kill zone and add it to the object references. It grabbed my script brain for some reason, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. We don't need it. And then hook up your object reference kill zone to delete object. Now what we're going to do is go back into events AI and on squad spawn. Now we're going to restart the kill zone. So we go down here, back to objects, and at the very bottom, spawn object. We're going to set a timer in between this because this is very important. Go up here to logic, the very bottom, wait in seconds. Connect these like this. And we don't have to duplicate this. We can simply just take the output and string it down here because it's not affected itself. It's just being referenced. So we're good. We're going to change the time later. The time is actually more based on what we do later, and it all has to work together. So we'll change this when we get actually done with the whole script. So for the next event, we need to go up here to Events AI, and we need to grab this node right here, on squad spawned with squad label. We're going to move this right up under here. We're going to change this to alpha because that is what our spawner spawns with. It's spawned under the label of alpha. Now what we need to do is go into just base AI, and it's called get AI units from squad. We're going to place it right here. And we simply connect the squad output to the squad input, and we're good here. Now AI units is a list. So when we interact with lists, we go down here to objects. And what we're going to do is get this node called get first in objects. And we simply connect the AI units to the object list. And we change this here option to 2. We're gonna change it to 2 right now. And that's okay. We can actually change this to whatever we want, generally, up to the amount of AI that spawn on this. But for now, we're gonna keep it at 2, and you'll see why. So now, when the squad spawns, and they spawn under the label of alpha, which is our only spawner we currently have, we're gonna get all the units from it, which are 4, and we're gonna get the first 2. So that means unit 1 that you set up, which was a grunt for me, and unit 2 that you set up, which was a brute for me. Those 2 are gonna be the ones selected. So what do we do now? We go over here to logic, and we grab for each object node. This is where the script connects. Actually, we're gonna go ahead and set up another wait for n seconds. This is a very, very important node that I find myself using a lot to make sure that everything flows right. And we're gonna set this to about 2 seconds. So they're gonna wait in place for 2 seconds after they spawn before something happens. And what happens is now we connect the new objects list, which is the 2 units that we're talking about, unit 1 and unit 2, a grunt and a brute, and we set that to the objects for each object node. Now, to get them to follow this, we have to go up here, the AI Advanced. And the second node is assign AI unit to spawn squad. And that's why we have to have our dummy, because we don't have a node to assign an AI unit to just a squad. It has to be spawned first. So that's why we have our dummy out on the map. So what we do is we execute it once per object. So it's going to do it twice since we have 2 objects. And the current object will be the AI unit. So it's going to do it once, and the very first object, which is our grunt, is going to be checked. And it's going to send it to Bravo. And then it will do it again for the brute, which is our AI unit, and send it to Bravo. Now how do we get it send it to Bravo? You can't actually check it with this and change it. So what we have to do is we have to create a couple of variables. And to do that, we go down here to the Variables Advanced tab. And we grab 2 declare squad variables. I'm going to drag this on over here to the back side. And we can duplicate that once. So now we go and select this, and we change the identifier. You're going to want to name it something you're going to remember, which is related to what's going on. So I'm going to name this one Alpha. And change the scope to local. For some reason, my game has been doing this today, where a black square will actually show up instead of the identifier that I typed in, but it still counts as the identifier that I typed in. It's just, I guess, a graphical glitch that my game decided it wants to do today. So the next one, we're going to change that to Bravo. And we change the scope to local. So now we have them declared. So how do we get them? Well, we go over here and we grab the get squad variable. This will just pick it up from over there, and we can plug it into the squads now. Grab the value right here and plug that chain into squad. We're going to change the settings, of course, to make sure the identifier is what we want. Now we're going to change Alpha to Bravo. So we're going to change the squad of those first 2 to Bravo. Make sure it's local. And that's all we have to do for that. Now we have to set up a couple more things to make sure everything goes smoothly. Let's duplicate this. I guess I grabbed this over here. Okay. Duplicate this twice. This can stay the same, but the second one we're going to edit and change it to Bravo. The squad label will now be Bravo. This is just so that we can make sure that our squad variable equals what we want. So alpha will be alpha and Bravo will be Bravo. And all we have to do to set that up is grab a set squad variable and just wire it up. Squad onto the value. The identifier. We're gonna make sure that alpha is assigned to alpha and scope is local. Duplicate that and just repeat the process. Hook up squad to value and now change this one to Bravo. So now we have it set up to where the game knows exactly who is spawning where and what's going on. So now how do we make sure that they go to the right areas? Well, that's when we get into assigning zones. To do that, we go up here again to our events AI because we have to start it with an event and we're going to do on squad spawn. That's any squad in the game. We're going to make sure that the things get assigned to where they need to be as soon as everybody spawns in. We're going to grab from the logic tab, wait for n seconds, as usual. Now we're going to create up here in AI Advanced a node called Assign Squad to Zone. Hook this up here. Now here's where we're going to need to reference a couple of things. And that's why we need a get squad variable. Okay, we're going to need to do this twice. So we go over here and we of course just edit everything to make sure it says what it needs. Alpha for this one and the scope is local. And we're going to need our, well, we're going to duplicate this real quick. Going to set this one here. Set this right here. Change this one to Bravo. Okay, now we need to go grab our move zones. There's one here and the left over here. And we go ahead and throw those in our node graph with Y. We're going to place this one right here and this one right here. Now we go ahead and what we want is we want alpha to move to the temple. So now alpha will move to the temple. We need to duplicate this because it happens roughly at the exact same time. So all we got to do is just do it again. And now we hook up the squad value to that. And then now Bravo is assigned the left. Now, the wait for n seconds is important here. So whatever you have set here, this will need to be a hair longer. So for us, we can go ahead and just change it to 2.5 seconds. It needs to be longer because it won't assign a zone to AIs that are not spawned yet. So they have to be spawned first. And we want to make sure that they're in the squad before they're assigned, because if they are moved to a squad before the zone is assigned, I'm pretty sure that it won't work. So we want to make sure that it happens after the fact. And then that's when we go back up here and we change this to be after that, because we want to make sure that everybody's in the right spots, in the right squads, and assign the zones before our dummy grunt is removed. So we're going to make this 3 seconds. So now the dummy grunt will be removed from the AI count of your map, and nothing will change, so no score is affected, nothing at all, and it will all happen in the right time. So let's go ahead and give this a try and see what we have going on. Node graph built successfully, so we know we're on the right track. There's our first spawn. See, they're not going to do anything yet. They're going to wait a couple seconds, and there they go. Alpha's going to go in here to the temple. Actually, that's Bravo. They're going to go to the temple, and Alpha went over here to this left side. So if you wanted to change it to have more, let's say now we are going to have a marine. And what else do we have down here? A skimmer. Okay. Well, now we have 6. So what happens now? We go back into our script brain here. And we can leave it at 2 if we want. This just means that our grunt and our brute will still go to the temple, while the other 4 will go to the left of the temple over there outside. Now, if you change this number, change it to 3. Now the first 3 will travel. Let's go ahead and try it again. There we go. And now they split up. Those 3 will go there, and those 3 will go up there. So now the elite will follow them, and those 3 will go over there, and then that's it. They'll get to the move zone and travel from there. So if you have other move zones set up from this one, they'll travel to that one separately, unrelated to what these guys are doing. And that is how you set up different squads from one singular spawner. And a little note I'm going to add here, phantoms. Phantoms are weird. The spawn time, the total spawn time it takes a phantom to spawn its troops and get them on the ground is about 24 seconds. Because I was playing around with it and I noticed that it wouldn't work with the phantom at first. What I had to do is I had to go in here to the script brain and increase all of the time to 25 seconds. And then of course I changed down here to 26 or 25.5, I guess. And then of course 26 seconds here. The only reason I did that is because it wouldn't work, and it only counts the phantoms spawned units the moment they touch the ground. So you can watch them spawning in and they'll drop, but they won't until their feet touch the ground. They're not counted as spawned in, which is really weird to me how they count that. So it wouldn't allow me to assign a drop zone or a move zone or a squad to them the entire time until I made sure it happened after they were already on the ground. So if you want to do a phantom, keep in mind you have to increase the time to 25 seconds and then use your other timers and increment them up from there. But other than that, that's how you do it. It's simple, but yet a little complicated. I was stuck on this for a while. Boy, that was a lot. But now we have a way of separating AI from their own spawner and going their own way to do whatever they want to do. I can already see the huge amount of uses for this, and I think it's great. I really had a love-hate relationship figuring this one out, but I couldn't wait to share the result with you guys. And I hope you learned what you came here for, and as always, keep the ideas flowing. You guys are a great community, and I'm learning so much about this while also trying to teach others in the process. It's a great loop, and it's awesome.